These are the GoPro Hero 5 Black and Session. GoPro, start recording video. Chris here from Videomaker, and you're watching our review of the GoPro Hero 5 Black and Session with comparisons to the Hero 4 Black. We're going to answer the question, is it worth buying? In this review, we're going to be covering both the Hero 5 Black and Session. If you like the review, remember to like, share, and comment. We want to know what you think. And if you like winning stuff, well, right now we're giving away a copy of Magix Vegas Pro, formerly Sony Vegas Pro. All you got to do is go to videomaker.com/wincoolgear, put in your email address, and you're entered. If it's past December 20th, well, we'll have some other giveaway going on at that same URL. Without further ado, let's get on to what we're going to be covering in this review. In this review, we're going to be covering a lot, so let me give you a rundown of what we're going to be covering. Right off the bat, we're going to talk about a little bit of history of GoPro, and then the launch of the Hero 5 Black, Session, and Karma. Then we're going to move on to the price and specs of the Hero 5 Black and the Session. Then we're going to move on to a bunch of tests, starting off with dynamic range, picture quality, low light capabilities, rolling shutter, image stabilization, wind reduction, voice commands, underwater performance, field of view, battery life, and cost, and we'll be showing you its menu. Then we're going to tell you its value in the marketplace, and last but not least, our recommendation. Are they worth buying? The last time that GoPro released a 4K capable camera was in September 2014. Now, September 19th, 2016, they released Hero 5 Black and Hero 5 Session, along with their very first drone, Karma. Now, the Hero 5 Black, it is $399. The Hero 5 Session, it is $299. Karma is $799. If you want to get it with the Session, it's $999. If you want to get it with the Black, it's $1099. Now, we'll have a full review of Karma soon, so keep your eyes out for that. So let's get started with the specs so we're all on the same page. So the Hero 5 Black and Session both have new optics and processor. However, they share the same resolution, frame rate, and bit rate as the Hero 4 Black. That means up to UHD 4K, 30 frames per second, up to 240 frames per second in 720, and up to 60 megabits. Now, where they start to differ are the new features. So, image stabilization, voice control, and now without an underwater housing, can be submerged down to 30 feet. So it's test time. Let's take a look first at what's the difference between the Hero 5 Black and the Hero 5 Session when it comes to picture quality. Let's take a look. So not a lot of distinguishing differences between the two. In fact, we didn't see any. So that means that really we could show you the Hero 5 Black from here on out when it comes to the picture quality. So then let's take a look at how the Hero 5 Black, the Hero 5 Session, and the Hero 4 Black match up together. So what'd you see? Was there a big difference in image quality between those three? Well, there wasn't enough to probably replace your Hero 4 Black with a Hero 5 Black, not yet at least. Well, the only difference you get is you get that nice touchscreen, which is real nice and probably worth a little extra money. The voice control is fun, and the image stabilization, depending on what you're doing, might be really valuable. So now let's take a look at some dynamic range shots, and when we come back, we'll talk about them. Let's take a look. So what'd you think? Dynamic range, did it have a whole lot? Well, we don't think it was really all that to write home about, but it wasn't bad either. Now, you'll get a little bit more latitude shooting in GoPro Color Flat. So let's take a look at that. Now, we just applied a LUT to Rec 709 on it, so you'll be able to see kind of before and after. Let's take a look. So is it worth shooting in GoPro Color Flat? Well, it really depends on what you're doing. If you're doing something and you're trying to use it cinematically, or you're gonna be doing some grading, well, if you're gonna be doing grading anyway, you probably ought to shoot it in flat because you're gonna have a little bit more latitude. Now, let's take a look now at our low light test, which is really an ISO noise test, and we'll talk about it when we get back. Let's take a look. So what'd you think? 6400 ISO, was it noisy? Well, we didn't see it. It really wasn't all that noisy. However, if you're in a situation where you're not fully exposed properly and you're shooting at 6400 ISO, you're probably going to see some noise. So it's kind of a balance there, but it really depends on what you're doing. We'd suggest shooting at lower ISO if you can at all possible. So next, let's take a look at our rolling shutter test, and we'll talk about it when we get back. So was there a huge amount of rolling shutter? No, not at all. In fact, there was some, but it was somewhat to be expected. And that's nice with an action cam, because if you're going to be moving really fast, the last thing you want is all your straight lines and bendy and jello-y. So it's really great that it doesn't have a really bad rolling shutter problem, so we're really happy with that. Next is that new feature, image stabilization. So let's take a look at that, and we have a couple different cases in there, and when we come back, we'll talk about it. So what'd you think? Image stabilization is a great feature. Well, you know, in the car shots, it didn't seem to make a huge amount of difference. It just cropped in a little bit. Now, when I was walking around, it made a huge difference. However, you got some really kind of funniness on the edges and around the outside of the picture. And that's because it's a digital stabilization and not an optical one. So next, let's take a look at its wind reduction, which is now a new feature. Now, you'll notice some of this footage has already been seen, but now you'll be able to hear the audio. Let's take a look. So, wind reduction, is it worth it? Well, with the fan, it did seem to make a big difference. It wasn't, as bad with the wind reduction, and it was, usable, whatnot. But now with the car, both the with and without, they were just bad. I don't know if either one of them would be usable. So, depends on what you're doing, if it'll be worth it. If you're attaching it to a vehicle, you're probably not going to be able to use that audio anyway. So, is it better? There are some outside things, but it's better than being trapped in the underwater housing the way it was before, because all audio sounded bad no matter what you're doing. So, it is an improvement, but it's not a huge one at that. So next is voice control. So let's talk to them and see if they do it. So GoPro, start recording video. That was pretty good. GoPro, stop recording video. Now, the one problem we could see is if you have multiple GoPros that all have the voice control, well, they're all going to be starting and stopping. And what we found is when one didn't hear it and the other one did, and then you try to do the command again, well, the other one might stop and the other one might start. So it could be a little bit of a hiccup when it comes to that. Now, GoPro, turn off. We found that most of the time when we gave a command, it worked. 85% of the time, maybe even 90% of the time. And it was more like it just didn't hear you. And it was maybe situations where we weren't talking directly to it. And that's where the Remo, which is a remote that you talk into that's like a big record button, and you talk into it. Now the underwater performance, well, it's a little bit better now because you don't need an underwater housing. Well, down to 30 feet that is. So it's got a flat lens there, so you don't have any more distortion than you normally get from the GoPro, and it works really nice. It seals up really good, and we didn't find any leaks or any problems with that. Just make sure that you dry them out before you go opening up all the bays or whatnot. Now, next, let's take a look at all the field of view options that these new GoPro Hero 5s offer. Those field of view options are great. There's 5 of them, and depending on what resolution you have, you'll have a few or some or all of those field of view options. Now let's talk about the battery now. Now the battery has been updated. It's a new battery, so it's not going to be legacy use with the Hero 4 or any one before that, but you now get a percentage telling you on the screen how much of the battery is left. So that's real nice. The batteries are 20 bucks, and they lasted for us shooting 4K 30 frames per second with the screen on an hour and a half. So that's a good battery life, and it lasted longer than the actual SD card we had. So next, let's take a look at the new menu system, and we'll show you going through all the options there. So what is the value in the marketplace? So GoPro has not discontinued the Hero 4 session, but they have discontinued the Hero 4 Black, Silver, and whatnot. So the Hero 4 Black and Silver, well, they're still out there. You're going to be able to buy them, and their prices are probably going to be dramatically going down now that they're no longer offered by GoPro. The Hero 4 session, well, it's $199, so it's $100 cheaper than the Hero 5 session. And if you need resolution or you want that voice control, that's going to be where that value is. Now, when you're choosing between the Hero 5 Black and the Hero 5 session, it really depends on what you're doing. Now, for our use, we probably wouldn't want to use the session. It's got less buttons, it's a little harder to control, you need the app to get into some of the settings, and so we'd probably go with the Hero 5 Black if we were making a choice. So let's get to it. What's our recommendation? Should you buy the Hero 5 Black? Well, the image looks pretty good. The price, well, it's cheaper than their last release. They give you a couple different flavors, and they're compatible with their new drone Karma. We found that the voice control, it's a lot of fun. It's really easy. We wish you could put some, custom controls in there, so maybe you could talk back to it or something. And it is a little rigid. You have to use their specific terms to make it work. Now, the image stabilization, it really depends on what you're using it for, if it's going to be helpful or not. And the wind reduction is the same case. Now, the no underwater housing, that's nice, but you still need a cage for both of them to attach to the ecosystem. So that's a little bit frustrating, and they're a little bit hard to use and undo until you break them in a little bit. So overall, did we like it? Is it a good value? Well, we think actually the Hero 5 Black is a great value. It's $100 cheaper than the last one, and we absolutely recommend it. It looks really good, and if you're thinking about buying one, you probably ought to get in line and shell out your dollars today. So there you have it. That's our review of the GoPro Hero 5 Black and Session. If you'd like to buy one, it helps support us make videos like these. You can go ahead and click on it and get on the list, or depending on when you're watching this, buy it today. Now, if you'd like to enter to win Magic's Vegas Pro 14, formerly Sony Vegas Pro, well, you can click on the link in the description or go to videomaker.com/wincoolgear. And if you're watching this after December 20th, 2016, well, there'll be something else we're giving away. So click there anyway and enter for that as well. As always, like, share, and comment. We want to know what you think. And hey, I've been Chris from Videomaker. Until next time, keep doing the hard work that you do. Bye-bye.